First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. The wisdom of this gospel, broad, lift up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is just a lesson through the spirit, going into prophecy, current events, the times we're living in, okay? Famines, pestilence, mainly the famines. As we know that the scriptures prophesied of a major famine beyond the levels of Egypt. Okay, you had the account of Egypt when basically Pharaoh had the dream of 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, which outmitigated the 7 years of plenty. And he needed Joseph to break down the dream because the dream troubled him, and he didn't really have any understanding as to what this dream was going into until the man of the Lord broke it down. Okay, and we know that the scriptures say that Egypt would be hit with plagues as before, which modern day Egypt is nothing more than the US of A. Okay, aka America, aka Babylon the Great, which is said to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire in the near future. Can't wait for that day. But anyway, this is a video here. I'm not going to play it because I know how these content creators, they get about their content when in fact they take other people's content and post it. But when we do it, there's a problem. But it says 10 food shortages we are noticing in February 2024. It's about to get ugly. And we are in the month of February 2024 with Passover coming up next month, which after that, things are going to start to speed up, Lord's will. Okay, so he has a list. It says the 10 food shortages, which is coffee. You know how you Americans love your coffee because you're running on pure adrenaline and sugar, pork, okay, pasta, cooking oils, canned food. And that's a big one because most people look at canned food as non-perishables. Okay, even though they may have an expiration date on it, you can still use up to canned goods 3 to 4 years after the expiration date. In some cases, may not be the safest thing, but the times we're coming into, people are prepping for these things. Now, I notice about these videos, these preppers, they speak on stocking up goods and piling this and this and that. And back in your mind, you're like, well, how are they able to do this, man? How do they get the money? That means I need to stock up on some shit. And in retrospect, when you think of it spiritually, you really don't have to stock up on anything because these people that you're looking at, they're going to die. Okay. And all that food they got is just going to be left up for grabs. So somebody going to get it, whether it be the martial law troops or animals or the elect. But regardless, we're going to eat in that day. Now, for a short-term remedy, in case lockdowns come and you may have to reside inside your homes for some time, then, it may be good to get an extra couple of cases of water, some beans, rice, canned goods, some non-perishables, noodles, stuff that you can make something quick out of. But overall, you're not stockpiling for the apocalypse as these people would tell you to do. Okay, that's just stupidity. Okay, because, you're going to have marauders. And then another thing, too, that people are so dumb. Lord got these people in a trick bag because he's putting the spirit on them to put this information out there. But yet these people are going to be found and ultimately put to death. So it's stupid. But anyway, it says canned goods, Kroger canned vegetables, sugar, spices, and oats, Quaker water. Okay, so matter of fact, let's go to 19 and see what he says about this. And anyway, like I said, this is under the section fair use, copyright of fair use. I'm making no money from this
Over
video.
13 million.
No profiting, anything like that. This is just to inform our audience on particular things that's occurring to the Bible. All right. So matter of fact, I'm not even going to even play that clip of the video. I was just interested to see him speak on there be a shortage of water. But what I can do once I end this video, I can basically go and research it and see what I find. And we'll take it from there. That way I ain't got to deal with all the bullshit. But anyway, this is an article from the People's Voice. It says millions of Americans are preparing for an apocalypse as mass food shortages reach unprecedented levels. Okay, and when you look up unprecedented, that means beyond the norm. Okay, it says hundreds of millions of people around the world are facing chronic starvation, and that number is set to become billions in the next few years. And this is another thing I don't agree with. They like to throw out that year things. Like, you ain't got years, man. I pray you don't have years, man. Okay, but it says, according to the UN's food program, a food shortage of unprecedented proportions is unfolding before our eyes. It says The Economic Collapse blog.com reports conflict, economic books, climate extremes, and soaring fertilizer prices are combining to create a food crisis of unprecedented proportions. As many as 783 million people are facing chronic hunger. Okay, and that's around the world. Okay, because you literally have 330 something million people in the United States. So this is talking about other demographics as well. It says that 783 million people are suffering from chronic hunger. But it says these people are not just missing a meal or two. Those that are considered to be dealing, it says those that are considered to be dealing, so like, oh shit. Yep, dealing with chronic hunger are hungry all the time. It says if you took the entire population of the United States and doubled it, you still wouldn't have 783 million people, right? You have less than that. It says in some areas of the world, widespread starvation is already happening. For example, it says takeout was taking place in the Sudan, but it says global hunger has been steadily rising for nearly a decade. And it says here, nearly a decade, and now global food supplies are starting to set tight. For example, it is being reported that global rice shortage is about to get even worse. Okay, it says global rice shortages are setting to worsen as India's exports of premium varieties encounter fresh hurdles due to a surge in freight costs amid the Israel-Gaza war and domestic shortages of shipments and other types of rice. It says exports of premium Indian basmati rice, which that basmati rice is good, man. It says last month were half of what they were a year ago, with traders blaming freight rates that have doubled following a series of attacks on commercial strips by Iran-backed Houthi militants. It says global supplies of cocoa are getting very tight too, but in fact, the price of cocoa recently hit the highest level in 46 years. Wow. It says cocoa prices climbed to a 46-year high this week in New York as concerns mounts that seasonal Harmattan winds across West Africa could dry cocoa fields and reduce yields for the Ivory Coast mid-crop in April. This will pressure global cocoa production even further. But Bloomberg reports the most active cocoa futures jumped as much as 2.2% to 4,961 per ton in New York. It says prices are up 126% since September 2022, threatening to rise the cost of the world's top chocolate makers as the Hershey Company. So that's a problem here, okay? And we know how you Americans here like to pride yourselves in your luxuries and your dainties and all that other craziness. You love your your food, your bread and circuses, which how about you, man? How Shine is getting ready to smite all these things, man. Okay, and justifiably so, because you people are extremely wicked. Okay, you people are wicked and you're proud and you're ungrateful, and yet you're very entitled with that me spirit. All right, but it says here, it says we are heading into the greatest period of chaos in all of human history, and tens of millions of Americans are fervently preparing for what's in front of us. Yeah, they know a civil war is coming. People have been putting their landlords to death, all types of shit, man, because they're playing with people's livelihoods. It says what the following comes from an outstanding article by Kay Smith, which a study published in mid-January found that the majority of Americans and Canadians in certain areas have done something to prepare for the apocalypse in the last 12 months. It says more than 40% of residents in Maine, Nebraska, and Arizona, and half of those living in Ontario and British Columbia are prepping for a North American apocalypse by purchasing various goods, according to the study published in mid-January. It says most people are stockpiling food, water, fuel, weapons, learning survival skills, and more, right? They're preparing for it because their own government is not, they don't have the best interest of the people. Like Russia and these other countries, they're pretty much prepping their people with weapons and telling them, look, you might want to resort in bunkers, but Americans, they're leaving them out to dry, which shows you how much the society cares about their people. They don't. It says here, but an overwhelmingly majority of residents in other states are totally blind, and that's the Democrat states like Illinois, Cali. These people are blind to the facts. It says, but overwhelming majority of residents in other states are totally blind and ignorant to the risks posed by being alive in a modern world. It says America is in a massive amount of trouble and very few people want to admit it. But as I recently told the first host, Jesse Kelly, we don't make anything the rest of the world wants to buy except for the upcoming seasons of The Chosen. We don't produce most of what we need domestically, and we buy it from all other parts of the world. And with the ongoing financial crisis from the you-know-what, pandemic, and idiot lawmakers post-2008 economic policies, there's a good chance we won't be able to buy anything in the coming years. Yeah, because the dollar is going to collapse, okay, which will lead to famine. Okay, and we're just about there. All right, so this is the book of Genesis 41, and I'm going to start at 1. It says, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came out of the river 7 well-favored kind of fat flesh, and they fed in the meadow. Okay, and I believe the kind goes into like the cattle. It says, and behold, 7 other kind came up out of the river, ill-favored and lean flesh, and stood by the other kind upon the brink of the water. So that was a comparative analysis. As a matter of fact, let's get it in the New Living Testament. That way we can go through it quicker. All right. But it says, then he saw more cows come upon behind the Nile, and they were scrawny and thin. And these cows stood beside the fat cows on the riverbank. So that was comparative analysis of the healthy ones versus the unhealthy ones. And it says here, then the scrawny thin cows ate the 7 healthy fat cows. And at this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up. But when he fell asleep again and had a second dream, which this was a vision, it says, this time he saw 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were shriveled and withered by the east wind. And then these thin heads swallowed up the 7 plump, well-informed heads. And Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was a dream. But when you go back into the heads of the grains appeared thin and shriveled by the east wind, we just read about that in parts of Africa, how those particular cocoa fields are being plummeted by particular winds and storms. You see, so the Lord is using the plagues and the judgments to strip this economic source, man, okay, and to bring people down to bare necessities, to the point that they're going to cry out for the institution of that micro C-hip, man, because this is another way that Esau Edom can bribe the people as to accepting that micro C-hip, you know. But anyway, it says, in the next morning, Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dreams. So he called for the magicians and the wise men of Egypt. And when Pharaoh told him his dreams, not one of them could tell what they meant. But finally, the king's chief cupbearer spoke up. And today I have been reminded of my failure, he told Pharaoh. For some time ago, you were angry with the chief baker and me, and you imprisoned us in the palace of the captain of the guard. But one night the chief baker and I each had a dream, and each dream had his own meaning. And there was a young Hebrew man, this is talking about Joseph, with us in the prison, who was a slave of the captain of the guard. And we told him our dreams, and he told us what each of our dreams meant. And everything happened just as he had predicted, because he was a prophet. It says, and I was restored to my position as cupbearer, and the chief baker was executed and impaled on a pole. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph at once, and he was quickly brought up from the prison. And after he shaved and changed his clothes, he went in and stood before Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream last night, but no one here can tell me what it means. But I've heard that when you hear about the dream, you can interpret it. And it says, it is beyond my power to do this, Joseph replied. But the Most High can tell you what it means and set you at ease. So Pharaoh told Joseph his dream. And in my dream, he said, I was standing on the bank of the Nile River, and I saw 7 fat, healthy cows coming up out of the river and began grazing the marsh grass. But then I saw 7 sick-looking cows, scrawny and thin, come up after them, and I've never seen such sorry-looking animals in all the land of Egypt. But these thin, scrawny cows ate the 7 fat cows. But afterward, you wouldn't have known it, for they were still as thin and scrawny as before. Then I woke up. Then I fell asleep again, and I had another dream, and this time I saw 7 heads of grain full and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were blighted, shriveled, and withered by the east wind. And the shriveled heads swallowed up the 7 healthy heads. And I told these dreams to the magicians, but no one could tell me what they meant. So Joseph responded, both of Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. It says, the Most High is telling Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. It says, the 7 healthy cows and 7 healthy heads of grain both represent 7 years of prosperity. And the 7 thin, scrawny cows that come up later and the 7 thin heads of grain withered by the east wind represents 7 years of famine. Okay, and that's the point I wanted to make. So the Most High gave Pharaoh the dream, and Joseph broke it down. And the same thing is happening here in Babylon, because I've had dreams of famine, pestilence, over the course of time, and brothers as well. And we know that the scriptures say that the Lord would smite Egypt as plagues before. So these things are going to manifest themselves, and we're seeing it. This is why people are getting ready to bug out. And it says this will happen just as I have described it for you, how it has revealed to Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. So the next 7 years will be a period of prosperity throughout the land of Egypt, but afterwards there would be 7 years of famine, so great that all the prosperity would be forgotten in Egypt. It says, and famine will destroy the land. It says this famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. Okay, so basically the famine made the good years of plenty look like nothing. So all those, the lavish past of America, from the baby boomers post World War II to the glory days of Babylon the Great. Hey, this short period of time that we getting ready to go through is going to make all those glory days of Babylon the Great look like they was non-existent. Okay, you know that they got a book called Rags to Riches, but it's going to be literally riches to rags. And I mean, in one day, and the elites are going to be brought from riches to rags in 1 hour once this place is destroyed. You see? So that's the point I wanted to make, man. All hell was getting ready to break loose. And these people, they don't know what's getting ready to hit them. And deservedly so, because like I said, they lived off pride, man. Okay? This is Joel 1, and I'm going to start at verses, let's start at verses 4. It says, that which the palmer worm had left, he that locust eating, and that which the locusts have left, the cankerworm eating, and that which the cankerworm had left, have the caterpillar eating. Okay, and this is going into like famine, man, a short necessity. Like it tells you, it says, if they should mope in a green tree, how much more when the green tree is not around, meaning when things go bad, man. It says, he have laid the vine waste and barked at my fig tree, and he had made it bare and clean and cast it away, and the branches thereof are made white, like which goes into Israel. But point here, it says verse 10, it says, the field is wasted and the land mourneth, for the corn is wasted and new wine is dried up, in oil language, man. Okay, it says, but be ye ashamed, O ye husbandmen, how, O ye vine dressers. It says, for the wheat and for the barley, because the harvest of the field is perished. The vine is dried up in the fig tree language, and the pomegranate tree, the palm tree also, and the apple tree, and even all the trees of the field are withered, because joy is withered away from the sons of men. Okay, like it tells you in the New Testament, during the time it was a great dearth that hit the land, which is basically famine. You see? So yeah, you Americans are getting ready to bug out, man. Okay, prices are going up, rent is going up. They're sneaking these little incentives in these utilities and shit. You're seeing a slight increase on your utilities, man, and people are trying to find, cheaper places to live, but eventually you ain't gonna have no place to live because things are gonna go up all across the board. All right, this is the book of 2 Ezra 6, and I'm gonna start at verses 20. Let's start at verses 22, and I'm gonna end it. It says, and suddenly should the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses should suddenly be found empty. That's your stores, your Walmarts, your Targets, your Krogers, and it says, and a trumpet should give a sound, which when every man heareth, they should suddenly be afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs and the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they should not run. Okay, so yeah, man, this place is getting ready to see the utmost of poverty, man. Okay, America is pretty much already a third world country if you really look at it from face value. You see? But anyway, man, I'm not going to harp on it too much longer. I think the point is being made. Giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai. Lord's will you will edify it to the next lesson. Shalom.